The move to fight obesity that my next guest says is a fight that is yet to be paid for. Now, two Democrats are pushing the White House to implement Obamacare rules that would require calorie counts on restaurant menus and vending machines to fight obesity. But Butch Yamali owns 1,600 vending machines and is struggling to keep up with and pay for all those regulations. Our Fox Biz All-Stars also here to weigh in. So, Butch, I don't envy you. I tell you, there must be more. They look at those vending machines, these politicians, they say, oh, look at all that extra space they have. Plenty of room for more rules and regulations. How does it affect you?
It's killing us. We don't even know what the rules are. There's a rule out there that says you need to have a piece of equipment that tells you the calorie count on the front of the machine. There's another rule that went into effect July 1st that changes the entire scope of what you can sell in a machine. There's a new criteria. Meantime, there's no
Like what, for example? I can understand alcohol, but what else?
Different. You can't have certain amount of sugar and salt and calories.
They're limiting the salt and sugar intakes.
It was already limited before by the state.
You know, the funny thing about that, of course, I'm sure you saw the news. A new study came out saying that salt is not that bad. Salt is not, you can, in fact, take more than a teaspoon of salt, much more, and live, in fact, not only well, but probably in a more healthy way than if you didn't have any salt.
And coffee's good for you, and chocolate's good for you.
So just as they come out with this stuff. The one thing, though, far be it from me to defend regulators of any kind, but I kind of like to be able to see how many calories I'm eating. Do you have any problems with that?
No, I have no problem with that. It should be something that the manufacturer should put right on their labeling. The front of the label prominently where it says what exactly is.
So even in a vending machine, you could see through to where that label was.
Absolutely.
How much is it costing you? Did you ever add it up? You have 1,600 vending machines. How much per vending machine?
It's about $600 a machine to retrofit.
You're kidding. That's a lot of money.
And some pieces of equipment can't even handle it because they're a little bit older, and you have to get a new piece of equipment altogether.
Wow.
And you're selling things for $1.
You haven't budgeted for this. I mean, there's no way to know what you're budgeting for when you get new regulations.
And you don't make $1 back. It actually hurts you because now it might make people not buy the product, or, you know, don't make that much
money.
Mark,
does Butch voice ever get heard inside the Beltway where they make these rules?
No, especially when they're considering it. They're not factoring his costs. Think about that cost. Okay. That's a lot of Snickers bars, right? To have to replace that.
You can't sell Snickers. Is that bad for you?
Okay, understood. So, but, you know.
You're not serious, are you? Oh, okay, good.
So this is
that would have me rioting if you couldn't buy a Snickers bar.
This is policy opportunism, okay? You know, they say don't let a good crisis go to waste. This is don't let a new regulation go without adding complexity and new layers on top of it. Right. You know, Harkin and DeLauro are your far left policymakers in Washington, and so what they want to do is they want to see complexity after complexity after complexity because it ties people up, and they're not factoring Butch's costs.
Hadley, do they care at all about? Let me be very conspiratorial. I think in many ways they would like to put Butch out of business because that way, in their minds, they would have less to worry about in terms of all those evil things that we put in our mouths and eat.
Well, if the effort here is to curb obesity, we have to look at the cost, absolutely, but we also have to do the cost-benefit analysis. And sadly, these menu labeling, additional information on vending machines or fast food restaurants, they actually don't make that much of a difference in the choices that consumers make. Right. If you look at research from Duke or NYU or Yale, people go into a fast food restaurant and they go to a vending machine. They're making a decision based on what they want, not necessarily based on the number of calories. So, you know, when you look at the benefits, they aren't even that great.
But, Jared, I think this administration and their friends in Congress have already telegraphed their concerns of what they want in their perfect society. They do want a perfect society, something that whenever a politician wants it, you got to watch out because that means we're in for trouble. They don't like coal. They don't like any carbon energy, and so they come out with these new regulations, the point of which is not simply to put in effect the regulation. The point is to wipe out coal or whatever carbon energy they're against. Right. I think it's the same with these fast foods.
To an extent, yeah. I mean, the analogy to think of here, they're trying to legislate like we're Sim City, like we're a computer game and we are going to fall into whatever, you know, we're going to follow the laws perfectly. It doesn't work that way. I was just over in France, which, by the way, everybody's very thin. I say that anecdotally, but if you look at the studies, we're the fattest country in the world. And you know what the reality is? They're eating butter and but it's a thought process. Teach your kids from the beginning. Take this money you're trying to pull from the American public and maybe put a little bit into the schools. I think that's
final word from Butch. You're going to give up?
I'm not giving up.
Good.
And this is something that they need to teach children from a young age, as he said. You can't do this when they're 16, 17 years old. They don't care anymore. They're going to pick what they like, and that's it.
All right. That's got to be the last word. Thanks, Butch. I'm going to tell you the one group